bright and early this beautiful Monday morning. Welcome to the Morning Brief. Monday means money, business means productivity, means a lot. What does it mean to you? Well, I'm Agric.
Well, it means strength and renewed vigor to come back and give you the best of programming. Good morning and welcome. I am Bukola Koka.
It means another day to put a smile on someone else's face. As much as lies within your power, it's always that line I'll add. Because a lot of people expect from you, but you're a human being, you may not be able to meet everybody's need. But as much as lies within your power, family members, friends, colleagues, anyone, just be kind. Welcome to the program. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo.
Oh, fantastic way to put it. We have before us yet another opportunity to do great things. It's not rhetoric. We're not trying to rev you up. This is not aspire to perspire. This is real deal. So we wish you the very best this week. What a weekend it was. I'm tempted to ask how your weekend was.
May it was quite eventful. Not too many things, of course. Following what was going on at the EPL, of course, the issue of the crash of the Iranian president, we're hearing all sorts. Some are reporting that the plane crashed. Of course, everybody knows it's crashed. The man is dead. We're still trying to confirm all of that. So there's a lot that happened when it comes to within the international space. A lot of outlook to know what this means. You remember that Iran is said to be behind some of these groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthi rebels, and all of that, and giving their misunderstanding with Israel, with the Israel-Hamas war. What is this going to potentially be for that region and the entire world? So we, as global citizens, we're concerned as to how this will play out eventually, because it's quite critical we pay attention to what's going on in Iraq and the Middle East.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what this would mean for even the Israel-Gaza war in the first instance, as you also said, Jeffrey, particularly because of the perceived role that Iran is playing in that war, how it will be treated. But we're waiting for reports to, confirm whether he has died or not. But it's a sad one for Iran, and condolences will begin to go out in the short term rather than the long term, if he's confirmed dead. But it was, a restful weekend for me. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's good.
Finally, we hear a restful weekend for Bukola.
Yeah, it was a rest.
She never rests.
It was one weekend of rest.
But it was no rest.
In a long time.
It was no rest for the weekend.
Yeah. I know where that came from, by the way. You didn't get it. No, she didn't get it. Just next.
Okay, next.
Okay.
And I think what I want to pull out of the, the Iran helicopter crash is the fact that, we've seen too many helicopter crashes this year. And that, for me, is very concerning. I was looking at the stats. In April alone, there were at least 29 people died. I mean, we know what we went through in February when the helicopter crashed and killed, people who were dear to us in the country. So I think it raises that question naturally about the safety with helicopter flights and the rest. Is it just me, or we're seeing too many helicopter crashes? If you've ever been in a helicopter, you know just how tricky it can be compared to when you're in an airplane. A lot of people will tell you that. I literally had my mouth, or my heart in my mouth, as they say. So I think it raises concerns. But it's good to see that here in Nigeria, we've had not as much incidents when it comes to helicopter crashes. And I do hope we keep it that way. But I'm hoping that we'll have that conversation and talk about helicopter safety across the world.
And I know that is it FAN now? Through the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development, has said that there's a company now licensed to collect levies for landings and all of that. According to the Minister Festus Keyamo, he said they were it was unregulated. People just take off and land as just they like and all of that. So I hope that it's not just going to end at collecting levies. It's also going to be, as you said, making sure that safety rules are adhered to as much as possible. We've seen crash, the one that happened in Ikeja, but those were trainee pilots and all of that. So we've seen all of this happen, but as much as possible, it's important that the lives and safety and security of our people is prioritized as much as possible. As Kayode said, one death too many sometimes when it comes to these crashes. So the ones that can be avoided, let's do the best we can to avoid them. Guys, what do we have?
Let's unpack, shall we? What a Monday it will turn out to be for you. We can promise you that on this side, we'll do our very best to ensure that you have the very best of Monday. So what do we have for you on the show this morning? Well, it's almost 1 year into President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope government, and one question looms large. How well Is the government delivering or on the path to delivering on its campaign promises? We will begin our scorecard series with the all-important one that concerns the food on your table, agriculture. How well would you say this government has performed? Join us.
It will be interesting to know your thoughts on that one. Besides that, we'll also be putting smiles on your faces this morning. As Jeffrey has said, his real name is Clint, but his last name is definitely not the Drunk. Our celebrity guest on the show today ranks as one of the most witty Nigerian comedians, but he's so much more. We find out how his unique style of appearing drunk, performing with intoxicating you with laughter.
Well, to the other side of things, I know for the gentlemen, I don't know about Bukola, what a weekend it was for football fans who have invested in arguably the most watched league in the world, the Premier League. Of course, it's a mixed bag of reactions from celebrations to consolation. I'm so sorry, the Gunners. And of course, those who are excited that they can finally rest from the football banter. That is exactly plus we're here tracking all the reactions across social media. Karen, I think that's your life.
Now I get no rest for the weekend.
Oh, wow.
All right.
I'm sorry, I had to put that in. Oh, you finally get it.
I finally got it.
Now, whenever you wake up is your morning. You know what they say, right?
Yeah, I wasn't watching all of those matches, so pardon me.
You need to.
But
so I hope your teams won.
Yeah, I am team channels. We always win.
My team was not in the mix, so I'm okay. I was just watching the people that had this. There's a team that I feel that when it comes to football and the EPL, there's a team that should be given the most loyal in terms of fan base. They know themselves because they've suffered so much heartbreak, but they stay.
I just want to give you a heads up this morning. If your boss is an Arsenal fan, do not go late to work. Anyway, we're trying to
avoid them.
Right.
If your boss is an Arsenal fan, just try and avoid them. Don't send him memos that are going to piss him off. Don't talk anything. Just be careful around bosses.
Yeah.
Because it's not a good weekend, especially ladies who don't watch football. This is heads up to you.
Absolutely.
Arsenal, God be with you.
A good counsel on a Monday morning. I agree with them.
But that's not all. We're tracking all of your comments and contributions, and they're up in about 15 minutes, so keep them coming in about the big stories, the big questions we're asking. We are here for you guys. So let's get your Monday morning started on the right note. First, with the top stories that will be making the rounds. Stay with us. The top stories on the brief this hour. We begin with security. Gunmen have kidnapped the paramount ruler of Mbo local government area of Akwa Ibom State, His Royal Majesty Ogbongo Konabang, at his palace in Ebu. The police public relations officer of the command, ASP Timfin John, who confirmed the incident, said the Commissioner of Police, Ailara Didamola, and other service commanders, including the Commissioner for Internal Security, have moved to the local council to ascertain the situation. The abduction is coming a few days after medical doctors downed tools over the kidnap of their colleague, Dr. John Robinesu, who is still in kidnapper's den nearly 3 weeks after, only last week also. The wife of Chief Asuko Eweme Olapokun, also known as Leville, a prominent political figure, was also abducted in Oron. Elsewhere, operatives of the mobile police team recently deployed to Kuriga in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State have neutralized 2 bandits in the general area. Disclosing this in a statement, the Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Mr. Samuel Araman, said the police operatives responded to distress calls of an attack on farmers by bandits at the outskirts of Kuriga village after a gun duel, which led to the death of the bandits. The police operatives also recovered 2 AK-47 rifles and 17 rounds of ammunition from the scene. Well, away from security now, President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of Infrastructure Corporation of Nigeria, also known as Infracorp, as a lead arranger and developer of Evergreen City, which is Nigeria's green industrial zone. The corporation, led by its Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Lazarus Angbazo, will, among other things, be responsible for the selection of partners and consultants to undertake critical development activities and raise in private funding for the development of the city and constituent projects. The president has also approved the establishment of Presidential Steering Committee on Project Evergreen to be chaired by the Special Presidential Envoy on Climate Action, Agric Nglali. And in a bid to ensure that more students complete secondary education in the northeast region of the country and improve their academic performance, the Northeast Development Commission has launched the Accelerated Senior Secondary School Education Program, ASIP. The program was launched by Vice President Kashim Shettima in Bauchi State, where he stated that the education indices in the Northeast region are unfavorable across various sectors, including education, and there is a crucial need to embrace a uniform policy to address these challenges. Staying in the region but talking politics this time, the Northwest chapter of the All Progressives Congress APC has passed a vote of confidence on President Bola Tinubu for what they called his steadfastness in fulfilling his campaign promises to the citizens. The APC stakeholders, during a meeting chaired by Governor of Kaduna State, Senator Obasani, identified the war against insecurity and developmental challenges, as well as his support to the people of the Northwest Zone, as reasons for their vote.
The zone has been playing a critical role in determining the electoral fortunes of our party. The zone builds up some of the most articulate, resourceful political strategies in Nigeria. What happens in our zone is of primary interest to other zones in Nigeria. It is for this reason that we must at all times take a critical look at the health of APC in Northwest Zone, with a view to addressing challenges and repositioning it for future electoral battles. I urge us to always adopt a consensus approach to the resolution of pressing issues. It is a win-win approach that helps in building and sustaining peace and unity. We must, however, pay serious attention to internal party democracy. When we operate according to the Constitution and guidelines of our party, friction will be lessened and litigation will be reduced.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives preached about party unity and reconciliation and the need for all APC stakeholders to support the President Bola Tinubu administration due to his magnanimity to the Northwest Zone.
I have never seen this kind of love and support that any administration before has ever given to the Northwest. And this is a food for thought for us, honorable colleagues, distinguished gentlemen, that to whom so much is given, so much is also expected of you. It is our own turn to appreciate, Mr. President, to appreciate our party by ensuring that we do everything humanly possible to bring dividend of democracy to our people, to ensure that insecurity that has bedeviled our zone is brought to its logical conclusion. And finally, also, to ensure that 2027, we double our efforts, double our contribution in ensuring that APC does well in every ward, in every state, in every local government.
Well, elsewhere, the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, has paid a visit to victims of Kano Mosque incident, receiving treatment at the Murtala Muhammad Specialist Hospital, Kano. The incident occurred on Thursday after 38-year-old Shafiu Abubakar closed the doors of the mosque in Laraba Albasu community of Gezawa local government area with worshippers inside and set it ablaze. Mr. Peter Obi described the incident as horrific and condemns the act, showing support to the victims and caregivers. Well, the UN Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator in Nigeria, Mr. Mohammed Fail, is urging all generations of citizens in Nigeria and the African continent to wake up to their responsibilities. According to Mr. Fail, the older generation may have done their bit, with the older younger generation support in their effort to fulfill their own roles and move the nation and African continent forward. During this exclusive interview with Channels Television, the UN resident and humanitarian coordinator also commended the creativity of Nigerian youth and their resilience.
What makes me happy seeing across the continent this vibrant youth engage in this respective area, I was saying, at least one thing is clear. They understand that this is their call. This is the call of their time. The same way for our fathers, their call was the anti-colonial struggle, the anti-apartheid struggle, and generation after generation. And that gives me also hope that situation might be dire. As I say, the road might be very steep, but we just keep with the hope and seeing also these young people, their force, their drive, their innovation. And by the way, that's one of the part of the things what people never talk about in Nigeria. The ability to innovate that is in this country is almost unique in the continent, and I can say in the world. The cultural dimension and production in this country is almost unique. The private sector, there are so many areas that if you look at them, give you hope that this country have a potential of really completely shifting the needle. And the role that UN give itself is how to accompany those young people in their aspiration, how to accompany the country on its aspiration, how to really harness all this potential and all these opportunities that are out there, and just to stop looking at only the challenges. In every of these challenges, there is an opportunity that can help this country to play its role. And what I call the role of Nigeria is to be the leader of this continent and to be leader in the global stage.
Well, let's talk business in Nigeria. The Hotel Owners Forum of Abuja have announced the rejection of a new electricity tariff for Bande customers on the ground that the new rate is capable of exterminating hotel business in the FCT. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, President of the forum, Mrs. Fumi Kazim, says the federal government should think of other ways of generating revenue, as a recent increase may lead to job losses in the sector.
However, we gather here today to reject the almost 300% increase in electricity tariff, that is, the unprecedented escalation in electricity tariffs and its profound implications for our industry's sustainability and growth. Hotel Owners Forum Abuja calls for immediate action to address the impact of escalating electricity tariffs on our industry. We urge regulatory authorities to reconsider the tariff hike and explore alternative solutions that balance the need for revenue generation with the imperative of supporting economic recovery and growth. This is not actually the right time to introduce a tariff increment, as Nigeria's economy has been hit by the effects of subsidy removal and high cost of inflation. So rather than increase in tariff, the federal government and NEC should support businesses to survive by rolling out palliatives which will enhance standards expected in the hospitality industry, thereby fostering tourism.
And few days after the Federal Executive Council suspended the cybersecurity levy on certain electronic transactions, the Central Bank of Nigeria has made it official. Well, this was contained in a late Sunday night circular to all commercial, merchant, non-interest and payment service banks, other financial institutions, mobile money operators and payment service providers. The circular jointly signed by the Directors of Payment System Management and Financial Policy and Regulation. The Apex Bank advised that the previous circular is hereby withdrawn. The CBN, in a circular dated May the 6th, mandated all banks, mobile money operators and payment service providers to implement a new cybersecurity levy following the provisions laid out in the Cybercrime Prohibition and Prevention Amendment Act 2024. It appears that is no more, at least the levy for now. And to the foreign scene, it appears all hopes have faded that Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and his foreign minister have survived a helicopter crash in mountainous terrain and icy weather as rescue teams fought blizzards and difficult terrain through the night to reach the wreckage in East Azerbaijan province in the early hours of today. The head of Iran's Red Crescent, Pirosin Kolivan, told State TV that they can see the wreckage and the situation does not look good. Other news agencies, such as the Reuters, have reported that he's been killed in that helicopter crash. Iranian state media adds that images from the site showed the helicopter crash in a mountain peak, although there was no official word yet on the cause of that crash. Stay with Channels Television as we bring you updates on that situation. Well, let's now talk sports now. Imperious Manchester City beat West Ham 3-1 at the Etihad Stadium to become the first team to win the English League title 4 seasons in a row. With City needing a win to be sure of holding off Arsenal, who started the final day 2 points behind, but with a better goal difference, that is. But then we saw Phil Foden and Rodri finding the back of the net to seal the victory for City. They have now won 6 out of the past 7 Premier League titles. Last term, they joined Huddersfield, Arsenal, Liverpool and Manchester United, that is, twice in winning the top flight 3 years in a row. And Sean Diddy Combs has apologized for what he described as his inexcusable behavior after CCTV appeared to show him attacking singer Cassandra Casey Ventura. Speaking in a video posted to his Instagram page, the rap star said he took full responsibility for his action in the clip. The footage aired by CNN earlier this week appeared to show Mr. Combs kicking and pushing his ex-girlfriend in a hotel hallway. Well, those are the top stories at this hour. It's now time to take a look at what you've been saying about those major talking points and stories. Well, Bukola joins me on this one. Bukola.
Yes, well done, Kadi. Nigerians are talking about quite a lot of things right now, one of which is, the projection or the announcement, if you like, by the chairman of Dangote Group that Nigeria may no longer need to import petrol by June. Nigerians are also talking about a host of other things, one of which is the feared death of the Iranian president. But I'm sure that, one of the things that will interest them first would be that talk about the possibility that there'll be no more petrol importation by June. So let's take a look at this first one from Heaven Ambassador, who says, better days ahead, only if we meet crude requirements from refineries, increase crude production, and Nigeria will see magical growth.
Oh, absolutely. I imagine a lot of Nigerians waiting for those better days. In fact, they would like for it to come as soon as today. Take a look at this next one from Oyeyemi Ajiboye saying, well, it makes no difference, according to this user, since Dangote will still import crude on behalf of Nigeria. It's important to, of course, also put that particular assertion in context. It says Forex will still fly from Nigeria to USA. If Nigeria have capacity to supply Dangote with locally produced crude, the difference may be huge. But this is the head of Dangote saying we won't need to import. So that, of course, is different from what you have to say. But that's your opinion. Side by side, what he has to say. Not left for Nigerians to decide.
Well, the crude importation is a big concern. That concern about whether or not the NNPC will be able to meet Dangote's crude requirements, as well as continue crude exportation.
And not petrol importation.
Yes.
So those are two different things.
They're two different things. But the potential to end the 6 trillion naira importation regime is something to cheer about. Yeah. Absolutely. This next one is from former Showboy, who says, every day, different dates, different propaganda, a lot of skepticism here. He ends by saying, we're tired of you guys predicting the future. Show some work, I believe, show workings. Yeah,
it's an expression now popular, show workings. When you do your math exam, they ask you to show workings. Well, let's talk about something that played out in the nation's capital over the weekend, and it concerned Banex Plaza. Banex Plaza has been popular for quite some things, but the latest, we saw police soldiers taking over Banex Plaza after clash. Well, the first one here says people need to know that actions come with repercussions. And of course, this follows that video we saw about people assaulting soldiers, that is. And this particular post goes on to say, if our military is disrespected, we won't be safe from other countries. Oh, that's a very interesting way to escalate it.
Well, I wonder. Let's just go to the next one.
Really quick, yeah.
This next one is from Benz, who says, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Soldiers may have been wronged, but is this a right action? That's a good question. It's a good way to look at it.
Has a similar one, saying, why do we beat a uniformed man? Very disrespectful. No matter what it is, it's not a civilian. So do not do that, I guess.
Yeah. Let's move to the next talking point now, which is, about SERAP. That's a Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, suing the 36 state governors and the Minister of the FCT over failure to account for huge sums of FAC allocation, I believe to the tune of, well, the figure is not stated here. So the first comment is from Easy Life, who says they should write to the appropriate authority, ICPC, EFCC, to investigate the FAC allocation is used appropriately.
So I think the idea here is about transparency and accountability. Do you have to look for that information before you find it? Should it be readily available? I think that's another crux. Take a look at what this user has to say. Almost Circle says, will they get the support of the people? That's a big question. This user says, I don't see SERAP winning this suit without the people's backing. Trillions, this user says.
As you said, the information is in public domain. All you need to do is request it from the RMFC. Since the removal of fuel subsidy, how much cumulatively have the 36 state governors and the Minister of the FCT received in terms of allocation?
And what have they used it for? I think that's the crux.
Yeah. So this next one is from Demo Gabazi, who says, there you have it. I'm throwing my support behind SERAP. Those governors must explain what they did with trillions of naira. # support SERAP.
Well, the other big story is on the foreign scene, and it concerns the helicopter crash involving the Iranian president's foreign affairs minister and other government officials. In fact, the representative of the supreme leader was also on that helicopter, we understand. So what have you been saying since that news broke yesterday? Well, let's start with this one from King Pablo TZ, saying this is a deeply troubling situation. The uncertainty surrounding the fate of Iran's president, coupled with the deployment of the IRGC and citizens' reactions, highlights the volatility and tension within the country. And I think a lot of people have been wondering what happens to Iran. Well, we understand that someone is to take over this event, and then Iran also has a supreme leader whom the president was being touted to take over from eventually, but it is what it is, sadly.
Well, this next one rather, is from Prayer Barn, who says, I read they've shut their media communications down temporarily. That's it. I'm sure they need to devise a game plan to prevent an uprising. The question still remains, was this a hit job? And what country is responsible? Well, it's too soon for us to begin to make those kind of suppositions or presumptions and wait for adequate communication from the Iranian government.
And I think naturally people are pointing accusing fingers, you don't understand. But this next post perhaps sorts that out to an extent. You see, Winnie Shola says Israel has already confirmed that it has nothing to do with the crash of the Iranian president. And this user says he believes them. He probably got internal enemies. Lots of postulations and theories. These things are expected at this time. But stay with the verified channels, stay with Channels Television, as we'll bring you the updates on that crash. And that's pretty much what we can take from you at this moment, but we'll be taking your comments during the course of the show. So stay with us right here on the Morning Brief. We're starting with a big conversation. It's almost 1 year into the Renewed Hope administration. How would you rate the government? Let us know what you think. # CTV Morning Brief. You can send a short video of you rating this government to our WhatsApp platform as well. You see that subsequently on your screen. So let's do this together, shall we? It's our first talking point. You don't want to miss this. Stay with us.
Rural income that is secured. A commodity exchange board guaranteeing minimum prices for certain crops, animal products, a nationwide program for the storage and facilities to reduce spoilage and waste. All of that will be undertaken. Agricultural hubs will be created throughout the nation to increase production and engage in credit, promote credit, engage in value-added processing. The livestock will introduce the best modern practices and steps taken to minimize the perennial conflict. Through this, food will be made more abundant, yet less costly. Farmers shall earn more while the average Nigerians pay less.
In a few days, it's going to be exactly 1 year since President Bola Tinubu took over as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And on the day of his inauguration, he made promises based on his renewed hope agenda. Some of those promises we're going to X-ray today on the program, but we're going to start that series of evaluating the past 1 year under his presidency from the agricultural sector. How well has that sector fared, given the numbers that we're seeing in terms of food inflation, which stands at 40%, as against when he came in, which was about 24%, an increase of in excess of 15% across board in the last 1 year. So how well has the Tinubu administration done in fulfilling his promise in the short term of revamping the sector called agriculture? We've been joined on the program to explore this conversation by the Executive Director, Center for Food Safety and Agricultural Research, Professor Christopher Amwa, is right here in our Lagos studio. Thank you so much for coming on the program, sir.
Thank you.
We also have the Founder Executive Director, DDEE Farms, Oluwadamilola Awe. Thank you, madam, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Also joining us via Zoom is the former head of Agricultural Department, Abaji and Abuja Municipal Area Council, Dr. Shaibu Adamu, and also President of She Farmers Initiative, Mr. Mitokwe Ande. All of these gentlemen and ladies joining us to explore this conversation right here. Let me come to our Lagos studio to start this conversation before we go to our Zoom guest. Professor and Madam, it's you I want to start with. So I'm tempted to go back to some of the things that the president relied on, or some of the things he said in his renewed up agenda, which he re-echoed during his presentation or his speech, some of which he said there's going to be an introduction of a commodities board, modernize agriculture, to expand grain reserve and food storage, rural infrastructure development, irrigation and water catchment program, access to finance, cooperative, and large-scale land clearing and all of that. These are some of the promises were made. We know some of these promises are in the long term, some in the short term. As an opener, what will be your assessment of the Tinubu administration as far as agriculture is concerned? Prof.
Thank you once again. Good morning. By and large, it is not completely true that some of these promises are in the long haul, because even those that are in the long haul movement ought to have started by now, because all of them that you have listed that were promised were things that if there is an agenda in that direction, it should start now. But to answer your question directly, to attend to your proposal directly, I think there has been some kind of confusion in the polity, because while on one hand it appears as though this government is apparently committed to revamping the agricultural sector, on the other hand, some other macroeconomic indices appear to be counteracting those intentions or those promises. For example, the commodity pricing that is supposedly supposed to encourage farm production, agricultural outputs, because when prices are going up, the farmer is supposed to be getting more because he's the primary producer. But as it were, you can see that while that is going on one hand, there is no activity absolutely that seeks to stop the influx of cheap produce that are coming from without Nigeria. And that will counteract whatever gains that the farmer would make from increased pricing. So generally, there has been some promises, there has been some statements here and there, but on the ground, we are seeing that much more needs to be done.
Your turn.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. As a practicing farmer, I'm a vegetable farmer, and looking from that angle, most of what has been stated there, nothing has been visible for us to be able to see. You know, and for any of these things, I know, yes, some might be in the long run, but action plan needs to start from now. Like for the commodity board, we've not heard anything about it. When it comes to irrigation, now in the southwest, most of us are the ones trying to drill our boreholes on our farms. You know, if we're not farming close to a dam where we have natural water source and all like that. Then talked about the rural development of the roads and all like that. Nothing has really been put in place. And it's so painful that right now food prices are going up because most of our inputs that we use is very painful. They are being imported, so it's been affected by the inflation. The cost of production has increased, and that doesn't mean that the farmers are making more money, even though that we have high cost in food prices. Like in the horticultural sector right now, I know how much a crate of tomato is going, and it's still going to go higher because most of what we use are being imported. Hybrid seed and all are being imported. So there's so much. The access to finance aspect, you know, when I saw it, it's still, banks are still giving normal, you know, if you have good asset and normal rates, you know, even if you tell them you're farmers, sometimes some banks will just zero you out. Only very few banks still have maybe some exceptions, you know, for the agricultural sector. So we're still yet to assess that. We have not still heard from BOA at the moment. Then when we talk about, so different things, this food storage, they talk about the food storage, and it stated that there were going to be fresh food storage in marketplaces and all. Nothing about that yet, you know. And I think that in general, in achieving this agenda that the government said they were going to do, the state government has a role to play. And intentionality is key. You know, most states needs to be intentional about the food production of their states. You know, take for example now, like Niger State, who has cleared over 1 million hectares of land for food production. So some of this, I feel that some of these promises that have been made, I think it is an action point for governors to come together and say, okay, this is what the governor have said. Okay, governors, presidents, we've already cleared land. We need this, we need this and this and this and this and this. So it's the intentionality for me, because right now, farmers are just at the verge of doing everything, providing yourself lands. We had that either lease lands by ourselves. If you don't have access to land by yourself, then we get our inputs, we clear our roads by ourselves, we carry to the market ourselves, and we are at the mercy of the market price. We don't have a system where farmers have the opportunity to give their prices and all. So everything right now just looks as if it's working against the farmer, if you look at it, and it is very, very frustrating. And we don't even want to talk about the other disadvantages and all. So looking at it right now, there is nothing feasible. Maybe there's still some paperwork up there that we don't know about, you know, and all like that, but there's nothing feasible that we can look at that in the last 1 year compared, you know, they talked about the water irrigation system. It would have been very fantastic, because that alone is, it's because especially for the horticultural sector, where we need water, tomatoes, pepper, cucumbers, we need water all the time. That irrigation system, so the ideas were very fantastic. Actually, they are fantastic if they're going to be implemented, it will ease a lot on farmers. But now the irrigation system, nothing has been done yet. And funny enough, we have dams. At least I'm talking about the southwest because that's where I'm resident. We have dams that can be taken advantage of for starters, you know, for agricultural system. At least I think we have up to 9 that can be used in both whether Ogun or Osun, whatever, and even in the northern part. So right now, so that's it on my end.
Okay.
I believe Mrs. Andy is ready, and I wonder if she's ready so that she can also respond to the same question before I follow up with the practicality of it all, you know, if we consider the time that the administration actually took off. Are you ready, Mrs. Andy? Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah, good morning. Yes, I am.
Okay, so go ahead with your own assessment of the administration in the area of agriculture in the last 1 year.
Well, I think for me, the federal government has been, they've been on the right path in changing the nature and the structure of agribusiness in this country. But, you know, my last conversation here, I still insist that the governors at different regions must also integrate themselves with the federal government plans, the HOPE agenda, the Renew HOPE agenda. If you ask me, in the last 1 year, Jigawa State has been very intentional in this program, in the national program. Number one, I think about 2 weeks ago, I still read in the paper that the Governor Namadi of Jigawa State has distributed $250,000 US. That's about 370 million to about 10 communities. You know, and that's going to be sustainable. It's an intervention with a joint business with the World Bank. I know that our commercial banks are not ready for us because, I mean, the commercial banks also need to come into play in this conversation because the rate at which food prices are going up with less production is alarming. So the government need to integrate them. The state governors, the state government, the regional government, they need to integrate themselves with the national programs. I am also aware that the federal government has gone to different countries. They've signed MOUs. They've done a lot of things to bring infrastructures, to change Agric. But the governor should also be, they should be the activator of these programs. I can tell you clearly, in Oyo State, we have thousands of acreage without tractors. You can't plant. I'm also aware that some governors are distributing inputs. They will distribute cassava stems, they will distribute seed, they will distribute fertilizer. But when you don't have a land cleared to put these seeds and stems, I mean, it's not sustainable. Look at what the governor of Niger State also did. I mean, yes, the administration is just within a year, but we can see what the governor of Niger State did recently. He brought in some tractors to clear land, farmland. The clearing of farmland is over 60% of the total cost of cultivation. So for me, I think the federal government is on the right path. The only thing is that the governors, the owners of the resources of the state, should be intentional. They should be the activators for this Renew HOPE agenda. All right. That's my thought. The farmers are really, really constrained right now. I can tell you practically as a farmer, even in the different states, we have like 4,000 hectares. 4,000 hectares. We did the drone. We visited the farm some few weeks ago. We did the drone and opened to work. But to get tractors to clear the land, even to plow, is a lot of money, and no farmer has it. And that's why a lot of people have been saying foreign nationals are coming into this country, heavily funded with infrastructures to take our land and begin to cultivate even under our nose. But of course, there's nothing we can do about it because we don't have the machinery to do that.
And that's
so the intervention of government national level is apt, but the activators at the state level need to be intentional about it. Right. We have state governors who have done that, so they should take a cue from it.
All right, I want us to go back and forth on this so we can have a very robust conversation. And you make a very important point, madam. But let's just backtrack a bit and take a look at the promises that the president made prior to coming into office in his Renewed Hope Agenda manifesto. So food security was top for that agriculture bit of his campaign promises: enhance agricultural productivity, agro-allied industry, food security, farm incomes, the commodity boards as well, which is another big one on the Renewed Hope agenda, which you see right there on your screen. Introduce commodity boards. So far, going by your ratings, you've not seen any activity in that light. There's also rural infrastructure development, farm to market roads, access, as well as freight networks will be the priority of this administration. Again, that has not been scored highly. Access to finance, which is vital, again, from your rating, has not been quite visible. So let me take this to Dr. Adamu. I mean, you, former head of Agricultural Department, Abaji and Abuja Municipal Area Council. So you maybe sort of understand how government works when it comes to promising and delivering. From what you've seen so far, is this acceptable? Is this the normal trajectory you expect from this government, or for you, there is much to be desired?
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians. From our assessment so far, I think from the result, when something is done well, I think the result will be able to show that something has been done. When you said this administration met inflation at 24%, and today is over 40%, that's already an increase, which is a negative impact. So for now, in fact, when I read the promises the president made before he was elected, in fact, that even made me to elect him. And when that will be implemented, from what I read, I felt Nigeria would be a better place than it was. However, the reverse is the case for now. Like the first speaker said, some are short-term, long-term. Yes, we expected by now that the short-term promises should have been implemented. Like what they are saying, in agriculture, even in developed countries, agriculture is subsidized. But today, when you go to the market, the farmers are at their own. The chemicals, the whatever that will reduce drudgery in agriculture, it is not there from the government as such. You go to the market, the prices of what we were buying before this administration, the prices some of them have doubled. And in that situation, cost of production has also increased. And if that situation is there, you don't expect even a farmer to produce and sell at a lower price. And even other commodities, the farmers get, the money the farmers get from his own produce is not even enough to buy other things. In fact, currently, a bag of maize here in the north is, yesterday when I was listening to some people, they say a bag of maize of about 100 kg is about 70,000. Soybean is well above 70,000, and so on and so forth. This is beyond the reach of the poor. So, agriculture, if Mr. President will actually implement what he said, that would be a better solution. The script we read before his coming, it shows like it's just a normal thing in Nigeria. We're very good at planning, but we're not good at implementation. I don't know what are the reasons why some of these things are not being implemented. And some of these things, again, to be implemented, there are some things, especially in the north, that has to be addressed. Insecurity. Because even when you provide all this, for instance, input to the farmers cannot even go to the farms. You see farmers now only farm close to homes. Otherwise, when you go in the hinterland, you are, at your own risk. You'll be on the farm. Currently, an aspirant in Kuje Area Council of a local chairman was killed on the farm recently in Abuja here. So even going to the farm in the hinterland, it is not possible again because of insecurity. And that's one of those things that the government, first of all, even have, especially in the north here, to address. And if Nigeria have to go ahead in as far as food security is concerned, these promises have to come into play.
All right, let's
bring
it down to Abuja today. If I may button, let's come to you, Prof. I know you were nodding your head when you talked about insecurity, so I'm going to take the question from there. I know when it comes to policymakers, people like you will be consulted to ask a question or two on advice on what to do. The natural question that crosses my mind right now is the issue of insecurity. Why do you think insecurity persists in the north as it does? Because this has affected us. Look at the numbers, and that number doesn't look like it's going to go down anytime soon. And I also know that a state of emergency was declared in July last year. And one of the things the president highlighted was that there'll be short-term strategy to use savings from fuel subsidy removal to revamp the agricultural sector. I don't know what that means, whether it's to help curb insecurity or impute or whatever it is. So what exactly do you think is driving insecurity? Because eventually it's affecting all of us at the end of the day when it comes to food security.
Well, interestingly, a greater percentage of Nigeria lives in the rural areas. And that's where most of the food is produced. Over 80% of the food supplied into Nigeria that is indigenously produced is from the rural areas. And these are the epicenters of the insecurity, of the banditry, of the Boko Haram, and the rest. Now, before I even come to that directly, you see, she mentioned something about damming. We have about 11 or so river basin development authorities. We have one in the lower Benue where I come from. Nothing seems to be happening there. Now, if you develop those, which could fall into the immediate, because these are infrastructure that has been pre-existent. If you develop those and pump energy, activate those river basin development authorities, they will begin to be active and people would see, farmers will receive some improvement in what they are doing. Now, back to your question. Insecurity, like I have opined in previous conversations, is targeted at food production. Now, there is hardly anything you can do to ramp up food production, and I'm focusing on food production because that is the crux of agriculture. In agriculture, if you remove food production, what will you process? What will the access to finance do? Access to finance is geared towards increasing food production. Now, the basis for producing food is the land. And farmers are chased out of the land through insecurity. Whatever guise is used is just a cover-up, is to decimate food production. And that is the target. Now, there is absolutely very little that the federal government can do in improving agricultural output without tackling the issue of rural insecurity headlong. Now, you look at the Land Use Act of 1978. The land is domesticated in the hands of the state governments. The governors control the land. But security is in the hands of the federal government. And when there is some kind of limitations or hindrances for access to farmlands, the governors are bearing the title of chief security officers of their states, but they have nothing much to do to curb the insecurity until they get clearance from the top, from the federal government. Now, having that basic understanding that decimation of food sources is the driver to insecurity. Of course, there's a concomitant issue of illegal mining that go together with it. But this directly affects food production. So if there is going to be anything that will change the narrative, the first short-term measure that will be taken is to look at the issue of insecurity headlong and remove it out of the equation and allow the farmers to go back to the farms. When the farmers go back, before today, when we were less than 200 million people, these same farmers were feeding us. These same farmers were the ones that fed Nigeria to the level of this population growth. And these farmers have demonstrated resilience and capacity to do what they know how to do best. So if you remove the insecurity equation, factor out of the equation, farmers go back to the land, then the issue of land clearance will come in. Of course, land needs to be cleared for farmers. Of course, irrigation services need to be provided. Of course, access to finance. But essentially, I would bring in another factor. If you go to where these foods are produced, basic infrastructure is lacking. Like roads. A lot of food that farmers used to produce got wasted. And now it's even worse because over the years, in some parts of northern Nigeria particularly, and eastern Nigeria most especially, some of these roads have not been attended to for several decades. So if you go to certain places, feeder roads are non-existent completely. So what I think needs to be done is this thing connects back and forth. Insecurity is driven by the need, by the desire of foreign merchants to take control of food production within our country. And by doing so, they will decimate our food production, internal food production, as a way to create an avenue, an opening for them to
labor to push the narrative of food insecurity.
The natural question will be, do you have evidence to that effect?
Absolutely. I live in a food production zone. When you have over 800 to 1 million farmers perpetually living in ITP camps, for what? Sometimes you go to the farms, they go there, they are killed. Why are they killed? They have no altercations with anybody. For example, the former president said to us in Benue that we should learn to live with our neighbors. The question was that who were those our neighbors? I mean, people travel from Cameroon to come and kill you. How are they our neighbors? So there is evidence. I don't even need any published report. I'm living there. I'm living there. There is food that is wasting in the farms. Farmers can go there.
You know, but there are other areas that are not ravaged by insecurity in Nigeria. If you could talk about the Southwest, which is why I want us to go back to the beginning of our conversation, where, you know, I believe it's Mrs. Andy was saying that, or the doctor was saying that there are some areas of deliverables that are not time-bound and some are time-bound. So if you look at the introduction of Commodities Board, grain reserves and food storage, rural infrastructure development, irrigation and water catchment, for instance, I want you to begin to look at it one after the other and speak to what is practicable that ought to have been delivered within the time frame of, let's say, 7 to 8 months that the administration actually kicked off after the constitution of the cabinet. I'd like to start with you first in the studio.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so if we start, let's pick irrigation for starters. And let's look at the horticultural sector, please. Bulk of our vegetables coming from the north, and when there is low in production, that's when prices shoot up here in the southwest. So if you look at it now, although yes, we have southwest farmers who are vegetable farmers and the likes, but because of irrigation, so and we have dams like in Oyo, we have Ajeda dams, we have different dams. In Ogun State, we have Onyo dams, and these dams are not fully utilized. So for the promise that was stated in the agenda about irrigation, that infrastructure is already there. It's just for you to channel tools on to see how farmers can access it and see how the waters can be linked to one. So I don't have to travel down to one particular area just because. So if that area is already congested, that means I can't farm there. But there's a way, I think it was in Kano, how they channeled their irrigation system when the state government did something like that. So that infrastructure could have been taken advantage of. So that alone could have been done actually. And in 6 months, we could have had something already in that area when we come to the south, when we bring it down to the southwest. Then when we also look at land clearing, because I know that it was also part of the agenda, land clearing. This is something that I feel anyway. I know that the federal government cannot come down to every state, but I think that actually the state governors, state governments could have done it for the farmers, land clearing. And most farmers, we don't have access to tractors, you know. So this is something that could have even been done easy. It's just provision of tractors, very easy provision of tractors and clear the area. We have plenty arable lands in the southwest, very many. So just clear it and let farmers. Even right now that we're already entering into the the planting season, lands could have been cleared down for farmers, and that would take a lot of burdens from them. So if you look at that aspect, then when it comes to, I think you talked about food storage and all. When we look at the food storage, we already have marketplaces, like major marketplaces now. It's just to take advantage, probably by extending the market and having a storage, or especially cold storage for fresh vegetables and all, you know, just to take. So we already have things that can already be expanded or be advanced, you know, and at least we could have been seeing evidence right now. When it comes to the commodity board, I know that it might take a lot of, you know, because there might be sitting, there might be policies, because it has to do with different crops and different distance, you know. So them at least probably maybe a committee could have been created and said, okay, now these are the people in charge of commodity boards. Give them a timeline in 3 months. When it comes to in farming, we have different crops. So when it comes to food production, let me use that word. So if it's okay, in this timeline, you people should have been able to come up with this. I know we've not really heard about that. So then when it comes to access to finance that was talked about, as at now, BOA, at least that is supposed to be under us, you know, that's supposed to be different to farmers. We've not heard anything. So when it comes to that too, I feel that they could be like, okay, in the promise, in the agenda, it's talked about the Anchors Borrower scheme. Right. Yeah, we know we used to have that before, but now there's nothing much about that right now. So this could have just been saying, okay, you know what, because these farmers already work in cooperatives. They are registered cooperatives already. So it could have just been easy to say, you know what, we're going to be disbursing to registered cooperatives. Maybe it might not be so much. Let us say we want to start with 10 million. Let's see how, because there have been issues of maybe farmers might not pay back on and all like that. Okay, let's say for each cooperative in every state, we'll give you 10 million naira. If you utilize it well, you pay back within the stipulated time in 6 months, we'll give you another one. This is almost 1 year. So any serious cooperative would have paid back and return and increase it.
Well, I know, yes, it's been said that some of these farmers are being chased to pay back regarding the loans that had been given at some point, but you say that there's a large number of farmers that are well and able to pay back.
Oh, yes,
and
yes,
it's
yes.
viable.
Oh, yes, yes,
so it's important to look into. Let me go to Miss Andy on this one. So we can look at the challenges from the farm to the market, eventually to the table of Nigerians. The average Nigerian, all he or she wants is to go to the market and be able to purchase these items at cheaper rates. So we know that, yes, some of these things are time-bound, but what we want is to get the results as soon as possible. 1 year is a lot of time if you think about it. It is a lot of time, 365 days. So if we will have a considerable shift in the inflation figures for food and eventually people go into the market to be able to purchase it with the current minimum wage that they're earning now while the conversation is still on what to increase it to. What needs to shift, particularly, specifically? This government is listening to us right now.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's very obvious that food prices have maintained an upward trend in the last couple of months. I'll give you an instance, particularly Gary. I mean, the Gary bowl that we used to buy in the market, I mean, started increasing from about 5,000 naira to about 31,000 naira. You ask me, why is this serious increase? Why can't the government look at it and bring it down? Like what Madam Awe said, you know, it's just the simple truth. The farmers are there, they are ready to work, but there are no resources. We have the large expanse of land for them to do, I mean, hands-on farm produce, cassava, maize. But the governors are not providing that framework for them to thrive. If you look at Southwest and other regions compared to the northern part, the northern governors are activators. They move quickly on. But down Southwest, our governors are distributing inputs. Inputs to plant on which farm? The farmers do not have money to buy 45 million, 27 million, 30 million tractors to clear their farms. So I also wonder where those inputs goes to, because they're not sustainable. They're not adding to the equation of why food prices is going up. So for me, major part of the Tinubu administration and plan for agriculture, some of them are actually a medium term, not immediate. But the one that is immediate, the governors should be intentional about them. They need to engage the stakeholders in the state. Like what she said, the cooperatives are there. They're also registered with the government. The government knows the cooperative. They should engage. In fact, I don't even know if they've called cooperatives meetings or called farmers meetings or crops meetings in the state so that they can, because that is actually the first point of call. Let them call all the farmers together. We have local government representatives. We have Agric in local government. They should bring all of them together and see how they can intervene immediately. So for me, I think that the governors should activate all this. We have dams across the country. Dams, well, good infrastructure. All they need to do is just to do some maintenance on them. We also have silos. I am aware some of these silos were even taken down at a point, and some of these grain storage were converted to estates. I am aware. I even saw one. I witnessed one in one of the states in the southwest. You know, so I think before you even think of storage, let's think of increase in production. So the governors should go out and help the farmers to help them with the land preparation. Right, once the land is prepared, the Bank of Agric can come in and provide money, loans for them, facility for them to supply inputs that they will plant.
Well, Ms. Ande, the purpose of this conversation,
because
pardon me, the purpose of this conversation, as you know, as we wind down on it, is also to give a specific rating to this government, and we'll do it across board. We'll give your percentage, what you rate this government so far in this 1 year, and particularly the minister as well. We've talked about what the state governors are doing and are not doing, and I think we've made that point. So we'll rate this government. The minister, so on a scale of 1 to 100, what percentage would you give this government? And I'll begin with Dr. Adamu. I don't know if you want to add something to what must change, but we have to rate this government. What percentage would you give this government? The minister as well. Should he stay? Should he remain in the cabinet? Should something be done? What will be your response, Dr. Adamu? Then we'll go round.
Now, with what is happening, the performance in most cases, as far as agriculture is concerned, is below average, because the situation is every day increasing. Everywhere you go now, you hear hunger, 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 hunger. So if there was any tremendous improvement in what was happening, by now, people will have the ability to be able to buy food at any time and in sufficient quantity. But as I said initially, that for here in the north, where I am staying, particularly in Abuja, insecurity could impede some of those things, even if those things are implemented. But where the farmers can still go to farm, in fact, input at very, very high prices. You can see government presence as such, and even if some of these things should come through the government, there are some political interference along the line. The president would have very good intention, but the channel where it will come down to the last beneficiary, that is the farmer, in fact, it is very cumbersome. And that is one of those things that even when I was in the service, that was the problem. The farmers don't easily get some of those things very easily. So there will be a lot of hookup along the line and diversion to those who don't even need it. Like all those anchor borrowers, people are saying they're very good initiatives. But when it comes to implementation, you will see the non-farmers even collecting the money. And again, those who are implementing it, they have opportunity of even increasing the prices of some of those commodities.
All right, Dr. If I may butt in, apologies, we're totally out of time. So on a rating, my colleague asks...
it's given below average?
Below average, yeah. So less than 50%.
No, below average for now.
Okay, you don't want to give a particular number.
No, below average.
All right, let me come to the studio. Prof, we're doing assessment now. It's 1 year down the line. There are ministers who are overseeing these ministries on behalf of the president. So how would you rate the performance of the government in this sector and the minister?
I think some of the ministers, let me start with the president. The president...
No, we're staying on agriculture for today. So
yeah, the president is the head of the government. The president obviously has good intentions. He wants to do well. But as a team, a few of his ministers are trying. But on average, I give them 13%.
No, agriculture. Prof.
Yes, agriculture is 13% or less.
30 or 30?
1-3.
Over 100?
Over 100. What has he done in agriculture? What has he done? Apart from trying to flood Nigeria with foreign inputs. I mean, how can that improve agriculture in Nigeria?
Okay, that's Prof's perspective.
Yeah.
Let me come to you. What's your assessment?
Okay, so I'll just stick to below average. I want to believe that probably there are plants on ground that are not yet visible, or they don't have direct impacts yet on the farmers, especially when it comes to food production. So I'll just give them below average.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have a specific number?
No, I'll just do below average.
So we know that you and Doctor are less than 50%. Prof has given a fail, like Prof's math is failure entirely.
All right, so Ms. Andy, what would be your percentage in terms of assessment?
Well, in terms of assessment, you can't give a percentage when the overall strategy of the government is still in view. Like you said by yourself, that some are short-term, medium-term, and long-term. But I will only say that the minister needs to really work at the state level and regional level to achieve its goal. for me, is actually below average with what is happening across the region. If you'll be doing well, if what is happening in the south, in the northwest, north central, northeast is also being implemented in other regions, then we can talk about a higher figure. But right now, I mean, the performance of the sector is below average. If I'm going to assess it from my state, from our region, it's below average.
So when would you be able to then assess the government, the federal government, the president and the minister of agriculture on their own
Mohammed
mandates? At what
Abubakar,
point?
that's his name.
Kerry.
Yeah. At what point? 2 years, 3 years, 4 years?
Well, I think some of the plan of the government, some are really short-term, they are long-term. I can tell you categorically that the dams in the country are being revamped. The federal government is actually working on revamping those dams to Ogun-Osun River Basin. I'm aware of that. There's a lot that the federal government is doing. And, you know, agri business value chain in Nigeria cannot be isolated. You know, it also involves other sectors and other departments. I'm also aware that AFDB, Development Bank, is also on ground right now to provide infrastructure, to provide value addition in the regions in the country. So there's a lot of coordinated activities going around in the country that you cannot actually, the result cannot come up now. But let's give them like 1, 2 years more. I'm sure things will change.
The reason why we are doing this assessment, we understand how Nigerian politics works. So, first 6 months you're battling whether your mandate is still intact. You have another 1.5 year maximum to still do whatever it is you think you're doing. By the next 2 years to the end of your administration, somebody wants you out. Your concentration is low. So that is why this assessment is critical. This is where we have found ourselves. But we must thank you for all your assessment. That means by this assessment of 4, by this number, this sample size, the Ministry of Agriculture is not doing well by this sample size. There's room for improvement. We must thank you, Temitokpe and Mrs. Temitokpe and the President's She Farmers Initiative joining us via Zoom. Dr. Shaibu Adamu, former head of Agricultural Department at Abuja Municipal Area Council. We also have with us, who gave our views as well, founder, executive director, DDEE Farms, Oluwadamilola Awe, in our Lagos studio, and Professor Christopher Amwa, executive director of Center for Food Safety and Agricultural Research. Prof, thank you so much. Gentlemen and ladies, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so that's the scorecard right on this show from the people who are in the know. What's your scorecard of the administration when it comes to agriculture? Our WhatsApp number is up. Send us a message and tell us why you are scaling them or rating them the way you're rating them. I'll be able to read out towards the end of the show. But we'll switch gears now when we come back to the EPL. A lot of men love to watch the EPL. Yesterday was a big one for Man City. We'll find out details of that when we come back after this break. Cecilia Morigbo joins us. Join us again.
And you know, Nigerians are big on their English Premiership leagues, and you know, have quite a number of fans distributed, you know, amongst the teams. So what a weekend it was, according to the guys. It was a weekend without rest, with Man City carrying the day yet again 4 consecutive times. To review that now, we have joining us our colleague and sports correspondent Cecilia Omorogbe. Cecilia, I'm going to start with if your team won on Sunday.
You're apolitical.
Okay.
She has political.
Let me think. As a Tuesday, you know, after Tottenham game, I was Team A. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to accept
What's
that.
Team A?
Okay.
You don't have to say right, because you're meant to be apolitical. I like that.
Team A, or maybe your team didn't sort of do too well, so...
I'm just Team A. I mean, he has mentioned it, so it stays there.
Okay.
She supports a London club.
Well, we understand what Team A means in the light of the circumstances.
No!
No, what?
That's your question, Jerry.
That's a London club.
Okay, more important to Cecilia. 4 consecutive times, Man City. Yeah. So, unarguably, Man City is the biggest team, right?
Right now, yes, you can say that. But if you check, I think credit should be given to the person who ensured that Manchester City are no longer just the noisy neighbors. Because when Manchester United were dominating, Sir Alex Ferguson referred to them as, noisy neighbors. Why? Because, yes, they make a lot of noise and everything, but they were not winning anything. Right. I mean, just come and then they go. But since the era of Pep Guardiola, maybe Man City can be regarded as one of the greatest teams right now in the English Premier League, arguably, simply because of what they've achieved now. For 7 seasons, they've won the Premier League 6 times. Only Liverpool was able to break that hurdle. I mean, the COVID season, people don't even recognize that season. Ouch. They've heard they should be scrapped out. But hey, that was how Liverpool, won their title after a very, very long time. After Fergie came and kick them off the pedal, so they became like second fiddle or even third or fourth fiddle to every other team. But Klopp came on, built a team, and they were able to win in that COVID season. But take that out, if it's been Manchester City all the way. Last season, we thought Arsenal were going to give a fight. I mean, they finished second. This season again, they condemned them to a second spot, once again. And then, as you mentioned earlier, 4 times in a row. No team have ever done that. And currently, they are on 35-match unbeaten run in all competitions from open play. Now, you take a look at that kind of team. They won the Champions League last season, before Real Madrid knocked them out this season that is about rounding off. And then the FA Cup. And then you take a look at the League Cup. And then you take a look at the goals that they scored, that even Arsene Wenger had to admit that they need 100 points to break Man City dominance. I mean, how do you get 100 points to win the Premier League? So that's kind of hard. Now, they've all agreed that, hey, as long as Pep Guardiola is here, if you don't step up your game, you cannot wrestle the league title from them. It's just like when Fergie was around at Manchester United. It was like that. Now, we have a Pep Guardiola who has come on and also doing that again for the Manchester clubs right now, dominating the English Premier League. So it's something you look at and you can say, with what Man City have done in the past 7 seasons since Pep Guardiola is around, it's been like they came and they knew what they wanted to do. Yes, people will talk about they have so much money, they buy players, but how much have they really spent on buying players compared to some other clubs like Chelsea and Manchester United, who may have spent more than Manchester City? But knowing the right blend of players to bring in, knowing the right players to bring into the squad and how you manage them, it's something you have to look at. We're talking about Rodri. I mean, since February, Man City haven't lost a game that he is playing in. That's another player you look at, and he's not really the focal point of the team. Then you look at Haaland. Yes, this season, injuries and everything, but hey, that guy ended up with 27 Premier League goals. He still won the Golden Boot. Okay, look at Kevin De Bruyne, was also out injured. And what happened? Phil Foden stepped in. Phil Foden this season had 27 goals and about 11 assists in all competitions, or 10 assists in all competitions. So that's somewhat we're not even looking at. And what happened when they were playing West Ham, at Etihad? I mean, inside 90 seconds, you already gave the first goal.
For you,
it's called the second, so it's, yeah.
So for you, given how competitive it is it 4 times lucky or simply genius?
It's genius. No, it's not 4 times lucky at all. Because if you check the title race, I mean, all of us were eagerly anticipating what was going to happen on Tuesday night against Tottenham. I mean, on social media, it was buzzing. And even when Heung-min Son missed that, sitter, when Ortega saved it after Ederson was taken out because of that injury. And everyone was saying that, was he sold? I mean, maybe because, two London clubs, they felt, okay, maybe they don't want Arsenal to win it. And that's why Spurs played like that. Spurs played one of their best games of the season. I mean, dominance and all that. But Man City kind of, they sat back. It wasn't the City we know. But they knew what they wanted. I mean, get the goals, defend, and then that's it. And after that, we knew there was no way they were going to, lose at Etihad. So it wasn't luck. It was pure genius. Pep knows what to do. When he had injuries all through, this season, I think this is one of his worst seasons so far. I mean, not concerning him winning the league. I'm talking about the injuries he had. Plethora of them. I mean, most players left, and then injuries crept on. Kevin De Bruyne, most of the time he was out. Haaland, we knew him. Rodri, those guys were injured. But somehow you have other players stepping up and also as if nothing ever happened.
Cecilia, if, late 90s, maybe early 2000s, if you had said Man City would win 6 times in 7 years, people would say, did you say Man United or Man City? I said, no, Man City. It would naturally be shocking. So it's amazing what has happened to Man City. People used to see Man City as the younger brothers to Man United. So Man U was the main, and Man City was, the younger brother. But things have since changed. But when we talk about Arsenal, what Arsenal did this season, because it was phenomenal. The goals difference. Yes, you don't win the league with goals difference, but Arsenal played a fantastic season, didn't they?
Yeah, I think when they lost it was, I'm trying to remember, was it April 14th?
That decider match,
that was the decider against Aston Villa. I mean, if they had won that, I mean, that's just it. Because already, Man City dropped points at the time, you know, we're talking about injuries and all that, when we dropped points, I think 3 in a row or something. I'm trying to remember now. And then Arsenal started this season, January. I think they won like almost 6 games in a row, scoring 5 goals in each of them. They were building that goal difference. They were top of it. Liverpool was in the mix. But what happened at April 14? Liverpool lost. Arsenal lost. And then Man City won. And they had games in hand. And so, shifted the gear. And they were like, okay, Liverpool were out of the race. But Arsenal, I love the fact that they chased till, despite that didn't kind of pull them down. The Arsenal, we know, somehow, they'll crumble. They were like, oh, it's January, yes, that's how Arsenal behave. By February, they'll crumble. But it didn't happen because they fought till the end. Yeah, I love that consistency with Arsenal this season. And I hope, as Arteta has said, that the pain they're feeling this season will definitely spur them on, you know, for next season. And the only way you can...
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Tottenham Spur.
But make your point.
We'll be a trigger. Yeah, okay, we'll trigger them.
Okay, but Arsenal, you know, the canon has a trigger. Yeah, so play on words again.
I feel sad for them because they say you don't win the silver, you lost the gold.
Well, for Arteta, you could see that. You could see his resolve. You could see his commitment. But what does he really need to do differently, you know, in the coming season?
He mentioned that at the end of the game, that they need to get at least 100 points next season to break the dominance. How do you get 100 points? It simply means you have to strive to win every game you're playing.
But I mean, in terms of tactics, you know, you keep talking about the Man City's coach and how this is simply genius and, you know, it's not luck. So
he's got, you know, okay, now, okay, let's paint this scenario. It's like, we worked together before, right? We were working together at Channels, and then I decided to like, okay, you know what? You were my assistant, right? Okay, yeah. This is just painting the scenario. Okay, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll go to like, not so big of a station as Channels, and head that station. All right. I gave you, like, I asked you to leave, right? Or rather, you decided to go, but you worked under me for a very long time.
This is interesting.
And then, at the top, we're having like a competition against each other. I mean, I know you very well, and then you do know me, but I have more than you.
More experience.
More experience, because you worked under me. So I decided to like, you know what, let me send some workers to you that will also work with you. But obviously they're wearing my best workers. And then they're working with you. You're coming to compete against me. It's going to be hard, really.
So this is like, Guardiola and Arteta relationship.
Check the players. I mean, we saw Man City players, you know, moving over to the other side, to London, you know, from Manchester to London. I mean, how good were those players when they were at Manchester City?
So is this a Nigerian politics, you know, president, vice presidential candidates, now the presidential candidates of another party, and then they keep defecting and all of that? Similar.
It's not hard for you to be able to defeat your boss. Yes, we've seen, bosses, you know, get beaten by their, you know, but it's hard because Pep happens to be a coach who, I mean, you don't know what's going to come up with. Before we say it's just tiki-taka, right? But we've seen Pep play defensive football.
Creative.
It's very creative. So he had to actually, you know, break that. Except you.
We almost have to tell. In fact, it's a big one. What can we learn from this for the MPFL?
Fantastic.
Oh, okay. MPFL, I mean, I would say, I mean, arguably the most competitive league in the world. Why? Because, one, if you see the road travels the players do, I mean, midweek and weekend games,
and they don't fly.
Some of them, except the likes of Aimba, Bender Insurance, you know, Rangers, those who have the means and all. Rivers sometimes, Rivers United sometimes, not all of them. But the road travels they do, the pitches they play on, and then the condition they have to play, and then they still strive to win. Now, what they can learn from EPL is this. Not the VAR aspect, but that competitive edge is already there. We already have that. It's hard for you to have a club who will dominate the league for a long time, like you're seeing at Manchester, you're seeing in England right now, even in France at a while back. Now, okay, PSG, and of course, Bayern. thanks to Leverkusen who decided to like take it off them
Shout
and
out to our
everything.
brother.
So for a Nigerian league, it's hard for you to see a club dominating. The only thing we can learn from it is that try as much as possible to get competitive players, pay them well, and then see where we go from there.
I think 3 weeks or 3 matches to go for the MPFL.
Yeah, on a break, I think it's going to resume this weekend.
Right.
They had to go on a break because Rivers United had outstanding games that they were going to play. Now, I think it should be done this weekend, and then they resume, you know, about
well, 2 of my teams are top 4. I'm not going to mention who they are.
Rangers, Enyimba, Remo Stars, Shooting Stars.
I already know what I'm supposed to
Shooting Stars, Ibadan, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm shocked what they're doing this season. Remo Stars, I'm not surprised for last season.
Well, Cecilia, in addition to your list, we could also try collective marketing of our MPFL leagues so that, you know, we can measure up at least by half, you know.
Maybe next time,
half the way before we get to the summit of the EPL.
Whoever is winning the league this season can also, you know, throw more lights on this show.
We're doing that, right?
We're doing that, exactly.
Yeah.
On the show.
Yeah. So my team too is Remo Stars. I want to thank you very much, Cecilia Borogwe, for coming on the program. We're looking forward to having you yet again. So up next on the program, we switch to something else that puts smiles on your face the way that football does. Stay with the Morning Brief. We'll be right back.
Then we'll go left.
Come on, I hope I can survive this segment. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen a sneak peek of what he does. Clint the Drunk joins us on the show, but real name, Afamefuna Clint Igwemba. He's a comedian, actor, singer, rapper, painter, dancer. The list goes on and on. Good morning, Clint. Welcome to the morning.
The truth of the matter is that they told me, right, since I'm coming to Channels TV, I have to channel my look to looking responsible. Now, I don't understand why I'm wearing TV on TV. As in, the glasses is like me in TV, using TV to watch TV, as if people are watching me on TV, and it's Science TV, channeling the TV through the TV for people that are watching TV. How many TV have I said here?
Like 64.
I'm confused.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, help us, pray for us that we survive this segment.
Amen.
Clint the Drunk. First, how do you do this? Really?
Fine, thank you. And how do you do?
We'll talk about that after the show. I've tried to mimic you. It's not easy, and you're never under the influence, just to put it correct. How do you do this?
Points of connection, points of
introduction.
Thank you. I am under the influence.
Of what?
Cash call. Cash call. Well, anything that bring cash, I get high. I don't know why. It's an emancipative argument to my indoctrination.
Look.
We still have like 20 minutes on this segment, guys.
Are you sure? More English coming your way. Because I'm going to speak rubbish. I was on my own.
Before we called you.
You people called me. They say don't let a sleeping dog lie. But people don't understand that statement. You don't let a sleeping dog lie. You let a sleeping dog tell the truth. Because when a sleeping dog lie, he'll be lying and sleeping. That means the sleep is a lie.
And the lie is in the sleep.
How do you know?
I'm under the influence, I guess. Is there a way we can switch this on and off?
Yes.
So,
no, don't worry. Not on this channel. Because as I asked you at the beginning.
I know, right? So full disclosure.
You said we
asked for it.
We are on this.
But we need to understand your background.
My background is This, like, there's this building. Can you people see the buildings in the background? My background has even cars moving up and down. I'm surprised there's no hold up there. And it's Lagos. Wow, we're getting better. Who said Nigeria is not getting better? Person does not know that there's a place like
Over
that.
to you, Jeffrey.
What do you want me to ask? I don't know what to... Is there a way we can switch off?
Did I not tell you there will not be information that you will get any information from? I mean, did I not tell you that you will not be congratulated by this? Wait, what was it I said that time? This will be the most unproductive interview on Channels TV. That's my aim, and I will achieve it today. All of you are in trouble.
Producer, please, can you come over?
Say you people are journalists. Journalize me.
Okay, but we've not given you cash now.
And so, people watching it, they are going to... My account number is written on the screen.
How are you staying in character? Okay, maybe somebody gave you cash before you came here, but how are you staying?
I didn't sleep well yesterday night. You said I should be here this morning early.
Are you an Arsenal? Oh, you are an Arsenal fan.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, football club. Okay, you should ask me which football club do you support.
Right.
Okay.
Or you ask me.
I'm not sure I'll get the answer I'm looking for.
Ask first.
Okay, what football club do you support?
How can I answer a question I asked you to ask me?
I told you guys, well, you can't say we didn't try, really.
But anyway, the club I support is Night Club. Because if you support any of this club, you will die of heart attack. Believe me. So the only club I can support, Night Club. In politics, the only party I can support is birthday party. Because I don't understand what's going on in Nigeria anymore. I'm confused. No, really.
Even you are confused.
My confusion is more confused than you're confused. I mean it. Because, okay, do you know, I found out something recently.
Okay.
Let me give you people something. Let me give you
Even
something.
though I'm not sure this will be...
I know this on international television. So, watch me any day. I found out the reason that things are getting harder and harder in Nigeria.
Tell us.
Because I see interviews being interviewing, you even interview some people, out-interview some people too. Let me tell you the secret.
What's the secret?
There's power in the word that is spoken. You know that?
Yes.
Even God, as He created the word, He used word to. So everything you say, it follows you. Even name your answer can follow you. So you find out that the problem Nigeria has, that's why everything, price of living is going higher and higher and higher, and it has not been coming down. It's because of what we keep saying.
Tell us about it. What is that thing?
National anthem. Before, in the other time, it was Nigeria, we hailed you. They were hailing us and we were going better.
Oh, I see.
But now, arise, O compatriots. Everything is arising, and following what we are saying every day. Change the national anthem to allow my compatriots, things will start getting low.
Wow.
But his compatriots we are calling to rise now. Not the price,
the price of
and cassava.
Is the compatriot, is he not accompanying you into the kitchen? Is he not see, allow Nigeria, please, allow it. Let's get better.
So, since we're here and we're stuck with being here, so how do you stay in character as much as you do? Because right now we're trying to get you out of it. It's almost impossible because there are questions we want to ask. We don't know whether we're going to get the right information, whether we'll rely on those information, whether we'll trust those information. So let's just start with, how did Clint become the drunk?
First of all, can I remove this television?
Maybe that could work.
I think I like it. It makes me look like me and you now look more intelligent than both of them.
1-0, shots fired.
So you say, what was the question again?
I said, how did Clint become that drunk?
Okay. When hardship hits you, when you suffer, when you trek Enugu from one place to another under hot sun, believe me, you'll find your talent. If you don't find it, to find you. Because both you and your talent, when both of you suffer, you find that the only comfort you have is to find each other and rely on each other. Honestly. Me, I don't know how to say I even found my talent or my talent found me. It's God that found the talent that He gave to me that I use as the talent that He gave to me. Okay. Okay, that didn't make sense.
It actually does. It does make sense.
Okay.
We'll be honest with you here.
Thank God, it makes sense for the first time.
But I've seen your videos when you're out of character. I mean, there's this one I love with your wife. You're talking about how to last in marriage. So you're big on family.
Oh, it's my Facebook wife.
I'm not there. I didn't say it.
No, it's my Facebook. That girl is married though with children. Even her husband used to give us idea on what you are going to do. You people should do the one that he nearly poisoned you. This other one is the one that I was greeting this man. I like the man so much. I was giving out the greeting from my heart, but he did not understand that. You know, when you greet with in an atmosphere of love and incumbency, okay, you will greet. That's the knee greeting. Then you do the back hip greet. Then you now do the
reverse one.
Reverse, and then you bring him back, and then you do the head greeting, and then you now do shoulder. That's true brotherhood. Yes, true brotherhood. You say, I wanted to do more greeting, but you didn't know. So I was waiting with the 42 remaining greeting. Like when he comes back. Ogachas Aworom now saw me. He left because the previous day I greeted him for 3 hours, 45 minutes. Then
you introduced the
style. Came back.
You introduced a style that was, and it still is very rare, and you're very witty. We must say the way you play with words. So some of the things, are they prepared largely, or they just come off the cuff?
As I speak with you, I don't even know the next thing I'm going to say. But I know that if I say it, that guy told me that. See me watching TV on TV, and they're watching me, waiting for me to say something on TV. You see, I didn't even know what was it he said that time.
Okay, let's talk about.
Is this off the cuff? Does it come off the cuff? Naturally, I imagine it does.
Off the cuff. How did you know that they nearly handcuffed me?
They did. When?
Okay, sorry, it was in my dream. What was it?
Okay, let's talk about your music. A lot of people, besides knowing Clint the Drunk comedian, also know Clint the Drunk, the musician. And you're very popular for the old video of "Don't Worry,
Be Happy."
Be happy. But we never get tired of hearing how you left music for comedy, which is a story that I want you to recount. Combinating.
Bad English, good interview. That is doing it to is it not combinating?
The one about you being overshadowed by a performance by Two-Face all those years ago in IMT.
The truth is, let me tell you that story. That's the story you like. I was singing when we were in school. I started singing. We were singing, doing all these things. And of all the people, I was actually one of the best. People were liking me. You know that time in school, then some girls will now be like, "Hi, I watched you. That was beautiful." And you'll be like, "They are noticing me." I was like, yes, I'll continue this. I was singing. I was not doing comedy that time. I wasn't doing comedy. I didn't even know anything about doing comedy. I was just doing that thing, singing. And then one day, we had a show, Powerhouse, that's the club in school. And then we now went there. And while we were doing the rehearsal, they said that some boys are coming to go and perform kept quiet. They didn't even rehearse those boys. They now went to the show at night. Presidential Hotel in Enugu, I can't forget. Federation Hall. That was when the hotel was still a hotel. Now it's insects that use it for performance. So, as we were there, next thing they came and told me there are some boys that I knew, the ones we talked about, they're going to perform before. I said, this guy is too big for everybody, no problem. Let them go ahead. And I invited them. They called them Ellie and Pirates. I was actually Two-Face and Blackface.
At that time?
At that time.
Ellie and Pirates. Ellie was Two-Face. I was just there sitting at the back to where the artists were seated, and these guys came out. If I say let thunder fire them, it will be as if I'm saying something, but I won't say that thunder will fire them. I will never say it. Especially on TV here, me, to say that thunder will fire Two-Face of that time, no, I will not say it. They were not just even singing with instrumental, they were beating chest. And they were singing to it, not instrumental. And when they did this thing, oh God. When this guy sang, my career changed. He sang, as the song was still going on, crowd was blowing up, everyone was shouting, screaming. Even someone I saw at ice cream stand that was like, you have a nice voice, was now backing me and facing them. Oh my God! I just trekked down, entered Okada, went back to my school, went straight to the studio, laid down, dropped like 15 tears, and slept.
True story.
I'm not joking. Two-Face knows this thing. I nearly call him Two-Face. Two-Face, he knows this thing. I'm saying he knows the story. As I went there, that was how the next meeting I started thinking, what do I do that people will not like? I now remember that our caretaker in the village, the caretaker we had, Skatamojo, he used to drink and then he'll walk from the gate of the house, which is quite a distance, to the main building. And whenever he's walking down, he'll be talking rubbish, falling around. And I remembered everything he used to do. I said, okay, let me show these people that scatter mojo can scatter everything. I now tried it and they loved it.
Wow.
And I said, okay, this is where I am.
Wow.
Wow.
So that disappointment or that heartbreak was a turnaround moment for you?
To me, there's never anything that is a disappointment. It's all about perspective, how you look at it. Because if Joseph did not go to jail, he would not have been the prime minister. So,
have you forgiven Two-Face?
Me? I don't need to forgive him. I'm thankful to him. If not, will I be on Channels TV channeling you people to another career? You see, I'm the one that actually answered the question you wanted to ask me before you asked it. Through this story, I answered.
We're starting to wind down. So, what next for you?
What next for me?
Yes.
Is the next question you ask me?
No. I'm not answering any question.
That's the next thing for me. Is it not when you ask me the next question, I answer the next one?
Are you coming out with new records?
Okay, you're asking for the future.
Yeah.
Okay, when I was looking at you, unlike him, you both of you, do you know why these two are wonderful together?
Oh, Lord.
This one grows hair above, this one grows hair below. All his hair is going up. This one, there's nothing on top, I hope you know. Don't buy comb. You won't favor.
The comb is on my beard.
Brush.
Yeah, I have it in my pocket.
Exactly. In a suit, he has brush in his pocket. What else can we find there? I don't know. So, as I was saying, what was the question again? Bro?
What next week?
What next? What is the next?
In fact, you have 30 seconds.
I have a show. I'm coming up with my show this year, Finally, I'm doing my show this year. The Drunk and the Preacher. This year, I'm doing Lagos and Abuja. That's the first two I have on this day. It's a show that has not been, it's just a comedy show that you've not seen before, because on stage there's going to be two of me at the same time. Live at the same exact time. Not half and half, no. Two of me, two separate people. The two separate people are still me.
So it's an irony that you're also campaigning against, campaigning for drink responsibly.
Yes.
Clint the Drunk campaigning for drink responsibly.
Yes. Let me tell you, if a policeman comes and tells armed robbers, stop stealing, they will steal more. Because the armed robbers will believe that, hey, for him to come out and say it, that means they are not very... But if an armed robber comes out and tells an armed robber, stop stealing, they'll be like, hey, be like, say, they don't they catch these people 2 minutes. Don't they catch. So if a drunkard will tell a drunkard to drink responsibly, leave the drunkenness from me.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, we survived. Thank you for your prayers. I would like to thank you so much, Afamefuna Clint Igwemba. We know him.
It's actually Chukwugemeka Afamefuna Nakukwando Dinigwe Clint Igwemba.
All right, what he said.
Whatever I said.
Clint the Drunk, fantastic. And we're happy, that you're doing great things. You continue to do great things, and we wish you the very best. I'll up to your Facebook wife as well.
I would like to be in that show, by the way.
Absolutely.
We'd like to be there.
So we'll see you there.
That's if you get the time to go there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to thank you so much for being a part of this show. I have not laughed this much in a long time. So we wish you a day filled with joy and productivity. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
Yes, indeed. We wish you a week filled with laughter. I am Bukola Koka.
Thank you for watching. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
Sunrise.